Under the gleam of city lights, Ethan Cole appeared untouchable, a millionaire single dad whose empire stretched across boardrooms and skylines. Yet behind the polished suits lived a man haunted by silence, bound by the weight of raising his disabled daughter alone after tragedy stole his wife. For years, Ethan's life was measured in obligations, not laughter. Until one evening, inside a modest diner where the neon flickered and the scent of coffee lingered, fate placed someone unexpected in his path. His little girl, trembling over a dropped fork, flushed with shame as her father sat helpless. And then, without hesitation, a waitress knelt beside her, steady hands and gentle words breaking through the gloom. What began as a simple act of kindness would unravel secrets, ignite judgment, and change all of their lives forever. Ethan Cole was a man whose name carried weight in every corner of the city. His fortune, carefully built from real estate and tech investments, had made him one of the youngest self-made millionaires in America. His face appeared on magazine covers, his words quoted in business columns. To outsiders, he had everything. Yet behind the expensive suits and guarded smile lived a man who was hollow, scarred by loss. Years ago, a car accident had taken his wife in an instant, leaving Ethan to raise their daughter Lily alone. From that night forward, the world saw him as a powerful millionaire, but he only saw himself as a widower, stumbling through fatherhood with a heart that never healed. Lily was 10 now, a bright, beautiful child confined to a wheelchair since birth. Her mind was sharp, her humor quick, but her disability cast a shadow on her confidence. She often shrank from strangers' stares, whispering to her father that she didn't want to be the broken girl. Ethan's devotion to her was unshakable. He would sacrifice anything to shield her. But there was one wound he could never cover, the sadness in her eyes when she longed to be like other children. On a chilly Friday evening, Ethan decided to do something unusual. Instead of the high-end restaurants where he typically conducted business, he drove Lily to a small neon-lit diner tucked away on a quiet street. He told himself it was to give her a taste of ordinary, something beyond the gilded cage of their mansion. But deep down, he craved it too, just one night without the weight of appearances. Inside, the diner smelled of fried chicken and brewed coffee, the booths worn from years of use. Lily's wheelchair barely fit beside the table, and Ethan gently adjusted it before sliding into the seat across from her. He watched her with tenderness as she tried to pick up her fork, her little hands trembling. Once, twice, 3 times she dropped it. Her cheeks burned with shame as the utensil clattered to the floor. Ethan's heart clenched. He reached to help, murmuring softly, "It's okay, sweetheart. Daddy's here." But his attempt to guide her hand only made Lily's eyes cloud with frustration. She wanted to be strong, yet the world seemed determined to remind her of her limits. Ethan felt the old familiar Aiken empire at his command, but powerless in the one battle that mattered most. Then, without warning, someone stepped into their world. A young waitress approached, balancing plates with practiced ease. Her name tag read Grace. She had the look of someone who worked too many shifts, hair hastily tied back, uniform faded, but her eyes held a quiet depth, as if they had seen sorrow and learned how to live with it. Kneeling beside Lily, Grace's voice was warm and steady. "Hey there," she said with a smile that wasn't patronizing, just kind. "Mind if I help? Sometimes I have days when spoons and I don't get along either." Lily blinked, startled. No one had ever spoken to her like that, equal, playful, unafraid. Hesitantly, she nodded. Grace picked up the spoon, scooped some mashed potatoes, and with gentle patience, guided it toward Lily. She added a light-hearted comment about how these potatoes are famous for sticking like glue, and to Ethan's astonishment, Lily giggled. The sound rang out clear and unguarded, so rare that Ethan nearly forgot to breathe. For months, he had longed to hear that laugh, to see that spark of joy return to his daughter's eyes. And now, here it was summoned not by him, but by a stranger with no stake in their lives. Ethan's chest tightened with conflicting emotions, gratitude envy, wonder. He felt as though the world had shifted on its axis in that small diner booth. Grace continued chatting with Lily, asking about her favorite colors, joking about desserts, treating her not as fragile but as a girl with opinions worth hearing. Lily's shoulders relaxed, her eyes alive with confidence. Ethan watched, transfixed. Around them, plates clattered, conversations hummed, but for him the room had gone still. He was witnessing something extraordinary, though it appeared ordinary to everyone else. His daughter feeling whole in the presence of a stranger's compassion. When the meal ended, Grace gave Lily's hand a gentle squeeze and stood. "See, you did it," she said with a wink before slipping away to another table, as if she hadn't just shifted the ground beneath their lives. Ethan sat frozen, heart pounding. He had closed himself off for so long, guarding against more loss, but that night something pierced his armor. Watching Grace's kindness toward Lily, he realized he had just seen the beginning of something that could change everything. The diner visits became a quiet ritual. Every Friday evening, Ethan found himself guiding Lily's wheelchair through the neon doors, where Grace always greeted them with her easy smile. To his surprise, Lily's anticipation of these nights began to spill into her weekdays. She practiced holding utensils, rehearsed jokes she wanted to tell Grace, and even drew pictures of the waitress on her sketchpad. Ethan noticed the light returning to his daughter's eyes, and though it warmed him, it also left him unsettled. How had this young woman, a stranger until recently, managed to unlock a joy he himself had struggled to restore for years? Wanting to know more, Ethan asked subtle questions during their conversations. Grace eventually opened up about her past. She had once dreamed of becoming a nurse, she confessed, but her plans were derailed when her younger brother fell gravely ill. She left school to care for him full-time, taking odd jobs to cover expenses. He passed away 2 years earlier, and the grief still lingered in her voice. Yet even in her loss, she carried a resilience that struck Ethan with quiet awe. She spoke of her brother with love, not bitterness, and her empathy toward Lily now made sense. Grace understood the struggles of illness, the silent weight families carried. Ethan's respect for her deepened, but so did his fear. He couldn't ignore the voice in his head reminding him of the gulf between their worlds. He, a millionaire with influence and obligations. She, a waitress who lived paycheck to paycheck. Still, he couldn't deny that every time Lily leaned on Grace, the distance between them seemed to shrink. Then came the night everything shattered. Lily was eating her dinner, giggling at one of Grace's silly impressions, when suddenly she choked. The food lodged in her throat, her small frame convulsing as her eyes widened in terror. The room blurred for Ethan. Panic frozen in place. All the wealth in the world couldn't save his daughter in that instant. But Grace moved with startling precision. She rushed behind Lily's chair, her voice calm but firm. "It's okay, I've got you." With practiced hands, she performed the Heimlich maneuver. Seconds felt like hours before Lily coughed, the blockage dislodged. Tears streamed down her face, but she was breathing. The diner went silent, every eye fixed on the scene. Ethan stumbled forward, his knees weak, clutching Lily as if he would never let go again. Relief washed over him, mingled with shame. He, the father, had been paralyzed, while Grace had saved his child. People applauded, phones raised to capture the moment. By the next morning, a video of Grace's swift action circulated online. Some praised her heroism, but not all comments were kind. "She's just trying to get attention," one read. "A waitress angling for a millionaire's gratitude," another sneered. At the office, Ethan overheard two colleagues whispering, "He's letting that waitress into his life? Doesn't he know how this looks?" Their disdainful smirks mirrored the doubts already gnawing at him. That evening, Ethan sat in his penthouse study, the city glittering beyond the glass walls. He poured a drink, trying to silence the war inside him. His heart wanted to draw Grace closer, to honor the kindness she had shown. Yet his pride, his fear of scandal, urged him to retreat. Could he risk exposing his daughter and himself to more hurt? The decision weighed heavier than any business merger he had ever faced. The answer came unexpectedly from the smallest voice. Lily, curled up in her wheelchair blanket, looked at him with tearful eyes. "Daddy," she whispered, "Grace makes me feel normal. Please don't take her away." Ethan's throat tightened. In that moment, every wall he had built trembled. This wasn't about reputation or whispers. It was about the fragile heart of a little girl who had finally found someone who saw her as whole. For the first time in years, Ethan realized the choice before him wasn't between society's approval and his own pride. It was between protecting an image and giving his daughter the chance to truly live. For days after the choking incident, Ethan couldn't shake the image of Grace holding his daughter steady, her calm saving Lily where his own panic had failed. The video kept circulating online, drawing both admiration and cruel speculation. Business associates offered veiled warnings. Family acquaintances sent clipped messages suggesting he be cautious. Ethan tried to shield himself with silence, but each time he looked at Lily, he saw the truth reflected in her eyes. She had found someone who made her feel seen. That truth terrified him as much as it consoled him. One evening, perhaps to silence the voices of doubt, Ethan did something impulsive. He invited Grace to their home. It wasn't the mansion dinners with silver trays and distant staff. Instead, he asked her to join them in the kitchen, where Lily insisted on stirring spaghetti sauce with Grace's guidance. Laughter bubbled through the rooms that had long stood too quiet. Ethan watched them, something inside him unraveling. For years, his house had been immaculate but lifeless. Now it felt alive. Later, over mugs of tea, Grace shared a small, battered journal. It belonged to her brother, the one she had cared for until the end. Ethan turned the pages carefully, stopping at a line scrawled in uneven handwriting. "My sister is a guardian angel. I wish the world could see her the way I do." Grace's eyes glistened as she explained she carried it everywhere, not as a burden but as proof she had once mattered to someone in the deepest way. Ethan said little, but the words sank into him. For the first time, he spoke of his late wife, the laughter she once brought, the night of the accident, the crushing helplessness of explaining to a little girl that her mother would never come home. In Grace's gaze, he didn't see pity. He saw understanding. Their griefs, though different, resonated like twin chords of the same song. Just as this fragile bond was forming, life tested them again. One stormy night, Lily woke with a high fever. Her breathing grew shallow, her skin clammy. Ethan's old nightmare returned, the fear of losing someone he loved, the memory of a hospital where he had already lost once. He rushed her to the emergency room, his heart pounding with desperation. In the sterile white room, monitors beeped, doctors murmured instructions, but it was Grace Lily reached for. Grace sat at her side, whispering stories, humming softly, keeping the child calm when even Ethan's reassurances faltered. From the doorway, Ethan watched, his chest tightening until tears broke free. He had fought to carry everything alone for years, convinced it was his duty. But in that moment, he understood. He didn't need to carry it alone. When Lily finally stabilized, relief crashed over him like a wave. He looked at Grace, bent over the hospital bed, and realized she wasn't just helping Lily heal. She was healing him too, teaching him that vulnerability wasn't weakness, that love wasn't loss waiting to happen. Weeks later, when Lily was strong again, Ethan invited Grace to dinner once more. This time, it wasn't about testing boundaries. It was about beginning something new. They cooked together, spaghetti bubbling on the stove, Lily chattering about her dreams. At the table, Lily wheeled between them, slipping her small hand into both of theirs. Her eyes sparkled as she whispered, "Now it feels like home." Ethan's throat tightened. The walls he had built against judgment, against pain, crumbled completely. He met Grace's eyes, seeing both her strength and her fragility. It was no longer about what the world thought, or about the past that haunted them. It was about love, the kind that restores, the kind that makes broken things whole. In the months that followed, Ethan quietly funded a program for children with disabilities, inspired by Lily's resilience and Grace's compassion. But the truest legacy wasn't in the headlines or donations. It was in the laughter that now filled his home, in the sight of Lily practicing independence under Grace's gentle encouragement, in the simple joy of three people who had chosen each other. For Ethan Cole, once defined by fortune, the revelation was clear. The greatest wealth he could ever give his daughter was not measured in dollars, but in love, healing, and family. In the end, Ethan realized the greatest fortune he could ever give his daughter was not measured in wealth, but in love that heals and a family built on compassion. Grace's quiet courage and Lily's innocent truth shattered the walls he had built, proving that kindness can change the course of a life. What began as a simple meal in a modest diner became a story of redemption, trust, and second chances. It reminds us all that sometimes the most extraordinary miracles are hidden in ordinary moments, and that love, when chosen bravely, is the most powerful legacy of all. If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more soul-stirring tales, and let's keep spreading stories that remind us why love is worth everything.